And since it's 5:05, let's go ahead and get started. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our panel discussion featuring our wonderful students here at Presidio Graduate School. This is truly just kind of an excuse for me to brag about how cool my classmates are. For those of you who haven't met me yet, my name's Callie Green. I always say it's a great name for a California-based environmentalist. I'm a current dual degree MBA, MPA in Sustainable Solutions candidate here at Presidio Graduate School. And I also work part-time on the admissions team, so please feel free to reach out to me at any point. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have about our programs or student life or the application process. Just for myself personally, I'm super grateful that I made the decision to come to PGS. It's definitely been one of the biggest blessings in my life, from the joy that comes with being a part of our really close-knit community to the opportunities for career advancement that's provided by our student resources and the Presidio network. So I'm really happy and grateful to be joined today by a few of my incredible peers so we can provide insight into what makes our program so unique, and give you an opportunity to hear directly from our students about their experiences. So we'll begin with a little panel discussion, and then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. So you can use the chat function, you can use the Q&A function, or you can raise your hand. So if anything comes up for you throughout the event, feel free to pop your questions in the chat or Q&A, and we'll do our best to respond as we go along, but we will also have that dedicated time at the end as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. To kick us off, could you each introduce yourselves by sharing your program and previous professional role before coming to Presidio Graduate School, as well as your current role and or involvement at PGS?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'll go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Britton Mays. I'm originally from the East Coast and currently live in Southern California. I'm in my third semester of Presidio, and I'm part of cohort 38, C38 for short. My work history before PGS is probably not what you would expect. I'm a veteran. I served in the Army from 2011 to 2017. And after my military experience, I worked in the service industry while pursuing my bachelor's degree. I had this goal of owning a coffee shop or a bar. But through that, I found, I really wanted to make a difference in the world. And since starting at PGS, I've created my own little sustainability consultancy. At PGS, I take on a few roles. I'm on the DEIB pod. I help with the entrepreneurship and professional skills club, and I'm also on the dance-off planning committee. And lastly, I am a self-appointed dad joke distributor. That's me. Hi.
I can second the dad jokes. They're real. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight for your time. I'm Laura Rinkin, she, her. I am a C36 part-time MBA student, so I've been working while studying, and you can too. When I'm not studying, I work kind of at the intersection of sustainability and travel. So my background is in marketing and communications, and I decided to come to PGS to pivot into sustainability and then also kind of pivot from marketing to more of a strategy and operations role. So currently, I am the director of marketing for a women's travel organization that really focuses on DEI and amplifying diverse voices and travel representation in media and decolonizing travel. And then I'm working as an intern for a sustainable tourism consultancy on a climate adaptation strategy for the Maldives.
Laura's just the coolest. I can hop in. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Boyce, she, her. Great to be with some, hopefully, future Presidians tonight. My background, I actually came to Presidio straight out of undergrad. So I went to UW-Madison, and my major was biochemistry, a minor in sustainability. And partway through my undergrad program, I realized that I did not want to go into stem cell research as a cancer treatment like I had originally thought. And I was really interested in being called to do work in sustainability. So I decided that I wanted to expand my background and learn more about business and policy with regard to sustainability, which is why I decided to come here. I'm calling in from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a full-time student at Presidio in my last semester, 2.5 years into the program, and I am an academic pod student rep. Gabby, off to you.
Cool. Yeah, happy to be here with all of you. I am, like Katie, pursuing my dual MBA and MPA at PGS, and I've been a full-time student here since fall 2021. Laura and Katie and I started around the same time. Before PGS, I was working in food systems. So my most recent role was managing a program at a social enterprise called Healthy Corners for a nonprofit food hub called DC Central Kitchen in Washington, DC, though I'm currently in California. So I was helping a network of 50 corner stores in DC's food apartheid communities stock and sell healthy food by doing wholesale distribution and snap matching and WIC and a lot of other types of programs. Before that, I was managing operations for a regenerative kosher meat company. And so, and did a lot of different small food business work. And before that, I worked in advising college students on how to set up food recovery on their campuses. So all sorts of food systems things. And I wanted to pivot to be not just pigeonholing myself in food, but sustainability more broadly. And while at PGS, I'm also a student rep working on governance. And over the summers while in school, I've done 2 Climate Corps fellowships with the Environmental Defense Fund with the city of Seattle and with PG&E, one of California's utilities. And I think that's it. Back to you, Callie.
See, if I told you like all of my classmates are the coolest people, this is why. All of you inspire me so much. And I know that you already touched a little bit on this in a few of your answers, but I would be curious to dig a little bit more into what inspired you to choose Presidio Graduate School, and if you could speak to your future plans and kind of how you see your education and the resources at PGS helping you to achieve your personal and professional goals.
Got some big questions, Callie. Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned in my intro, a big reason why I wanted to come to Presidio was I realized that I didn't want to stay in the hard sciences and I wanted to diversify my background. And part of that was from having conversations with professionals in the sustainability space and hearing from them that the solutions aren't just going to come from scientists or business people or any one sector. We need sectors working together to create holistic solutions to help navigate the challenges that we're currently facing. And so as a result of that, I wanted to better understand different sectors for myself. And so that kind of started the search for non-traditional MBA programs. And from the research I did, Presidio seemed like the best fit for me, just because of the integration of sustainability and social justice into every class and the community of people. And I reached out to a bunch of alumni when I was a prospective student and heard their stories and was incredibly inspired by them. And I can say, to Callie's point, now being a member of the community, I am constantly inspired by all of my classmates. I think Presidio, the integration of systems thinking really sets us up for contributing uniquely to the workplace post-grad and internships that I've worked throughout the program. It's a skill that is desperately needed in this space, and I think can be hard to come by. And so the integration of that into all of our courses as well has been really helpful. And our faculty are also just the best. A lot of them are working, so they're adjunct faculty, and they have real professional experience that they can bring into the classroom and help ground the theory with practice. In addition to, right now, last thought, I promise, but I have been using my sessions with Trish Kenlin, who's the career services counselor. There's a strategy session and a resume session, and those have both been incredibly helpful in starting to look for jobs post-grad. So I will leave it there.
Take it over next, though. Katie, you had so many good points there. to be totally honest, I decided to go to grad school because I was really burnt out. My job was really physically and emotionally intense during the pandemic, being an essential worker, and I was hitting a wall creating change in the organization that I was working for. And all my previous work environments have been pretty scrappy nonprofits and small businesses that didn't have a lot of resources to invest in employees skilling ourselves up. So I was really craving a place with some more resources that I could use to learn more intentionally and have a little bit more space from that. So that's what got me looking to grad school, and Presidio had exactly the type of resources that I was looking for. Curriculum wise, I was looking for a school that was critical of capitalism and hegemonic structures, while also giving me the tools and credibility to work within the system. And since I'm interested in helping to transform our economy, I wanted to know both those business as usual type approaches, as well as how to resist them and push against them and create new things. So the balance of the imagination of a better world and the tools to transform the current one was what I was looking for. And then structure wise, Presidio is really flexible. You can go full-time to part-time to full-time to part-time. You can live anywhere, and you can be virtual, you can be in person. You can really make your classes what you want them to be. Each class pretty much has some sort of project where you can analyze a system in a different way. And so you can follow your curiosity, lean into the areas you're interested in. And like Katie mentioned, our professors are practitioners, whether instead of or in addition to being academics. So it does feel like we're in the working world, learning from people who are in the working world. Future plan wise, I am planning to keep working in sustainable economic development and environmental justice type work. And I'm interested in being someone who can help build unlikely partnerships in those spaces. So being in the dual degree program and learning about different sectors has given me a lot of examples about how to bridge them. It's been a lot of leadership development programs. So definitely feel much more equipped and more confident to drive that type of strategic change in organizations than I felt when I was starting this program.
Those were amazing answers. I'll try to add some nuance and not repeat what's been said too much, even though a lot of great stuff was covered. For me, I worked for about 6 years after my undergrad degree, and there were parts of my work that I really enjoyed, but I was also feeling some values misalignment in my work. So grad school wasn't necessarily a part of my plan, but I started looking into some programs that would allow me to leverage the experience and the skill that I had gained through my undergrad degree and work, and then also pivot, as I mentioned in my intro, to something that felt more aligned with the type of work that I wanted to do in the world, as it was changing before our eyes. So Presidio, a friend told me about it. It kind of lived rent-free in my brain for a few years before I bit the grad school bullet. But a few of the unique aspects of Presidio that really inspired and encouraged me to apply and enroll were in addition to what's been said, the course structure works really well for my learning style. We have experiential learning courses, so you really get to get hands-on. You work as a graduate student consultant with actual businesses, with actual real-world sustainability challenges, which has been super rewarding. And I know Gabby touched on the flexibility of the program in terms of you can be hybrid. I know I mentioned I've been working through school, so that was really important to me. Our professors are really supportive in that. People will work with you based on whatever kinds of diverse needs that you have to make it work for your schedule and your lifestyle. And I think another unique element of Presidio that makes it a pretty accessible MBA is like not only that, the hybrid structure, but also there's certain elements of applying for an MBA that Presidio kind of breaks down barriers for. And I didn't know this at the time, but what that results in is a really diverse mix of folks from all kinds of backgrounds all over the world. And it makes for a really rich conversational and learning environment. And like Katie said, we need all kinds of people to help solve these pressing issues we're facing with climate and equity. And it's just been so amazing. We're all better for it. And there's in the future, I'm working it out, but Presidio has a really strong network. There's Presidians doing amazing things all over the world. So it's a great spot to be, figuring out exactly how you want to be part of that change with lots of support.
Yeah, everyone said really interesting and things I can relate to up until now. My own story, I actually found Presidio by chance. So I mentioned earlier, after my bachelor's degree, I knew I wanted to work in sustainability. So I started taking these different courses and attending webinars. This is pre-Presidio. And one of the webinars I ended up attending was actually put on by two Presidio alums who were both working in sustainability. And I remember thinking to myself, if both of these people went to PGS and are doing the work that I want to do, then maybe this would be a good starting point for me. And since then, to answer the second part of the question, since then, being in this community and getting the education really has helped me achieve my professional goals. And I think looking forward, what do I hope that the MBA is going to bring? I think that the MBA education that Presidio gives is really necessary if who I'm competing against is, like, as a business consultant, has a more traditional MBA. Like, if we're going to change the status quo as a society, I think we need to be able to think differently. And I think that's exactly what PGS offers. I think I mentioned in my undergrad, I did a business undergrad. And so it's been really interesting taking the PGS version of these business classes, because they are trying to answer the question at PGS, how can things be different and what would a different business culture look like? And I'll just say again, if we're going to compete with traditional business people who have an MBA education, then I'm hoping, and I'm currently getting all the tools I can get from PGS. Thank you.
I love all of these answers so much, and I resonate with every single one of them. So thank you for sharing that. I wanna turn to a few more individual questions. So Gabby and Katie, can you please speak to your decision to pursue the dual degree at Presidio, and what you hope to gain from this experience? So specifically, how do you see this combination of your 2-degree programs supporting your career goals, and what unique skills or perspectives do you feel you're gaining from this dual approach?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it was not a consideration whether I should do dual or just the MBA. I feel like the MPA is my heart, and the MBA is like the credibility aspect that I was looking for. So the fact that PGS offered both was one of the main, I should have mentioned earlier, things that drew me in to even applying. But yeah, my work experience, especially when I was working with the corner stores and the social enterprise, very much taught me that the complex problems can't be solved by one sector anyway. So for example, one of my early mentors when I was in that program would complain about how people would apply to work at this nonprofit, or previous people who had worked at the nonprofit only had nonprofit experience and therefore couldn't really liaise with the corner stores who are our clients, who are coming from this business lens. So the fact that I came from small business more helped me to work better with those corner stores and find ways that they could both serve their customers, who were the community that we were trying to serve as a nonprofit, and their bottom lines, which was ultimately their families. So that program also wouldn't have survived if it didn't have the government funding that it did. And so my role there got to be working with small businesses and governments as a nonprofit, and I loved it. And so wanted to get more experience doing that at a larger scale or on different types of projects and build my confidence in that. And I'll also say some of my favorite courses at PGS have been requirements in the dual program. The civic leadership course is really incredible. The multi-sector strategic partnerships course is really incredible. Those are some of the courses that have stuck with me the most. So I feel really good about that decision.
Yeah, that my approach to the dual degree is a little different than Gabby's path. I actually started at Presidio only as an MBA student. I'd been considering during the application process of applying for the dual degree, and I decided that I was going to start MBA, and if I wanted to switch partway through, maybe I would do that because that is also an option at Presidio, which is wonderful. So about a semester and a half into the program, I worked with Crystal, who helps with a lot of the admin stuff, and she's also fantastic. And it was a really approachable process to actually switch from the MBA to the dual degree. I'll just put that out there for anyone considering that as well. And I think in my mind, again, it's understanding different perspectives, because in the long run, I think my interests lie more in the private sector rather than public or nonprofit. And I think it's really important to recognize, like, one of the MPA courses that I'm in right now is market failures in the regulatory environment. So what do we do when the market fails? Because the market is going to fail, it is failing. And it's a big reason why I think we're facing the climate challenges that we are today, and social challenges, all of it, right? So how can we integrate business and governmental approaches in order to create cohesive solutions? And I think that's a skill set that I feel like I've been getting from the program in pursuing the dual degree. And I think it's a skill set that is very valuable to bring into the workplace. So, yeah.
Thank you both for sharing that. Britt, over to you. Small businesses, you work with small businesses, and small businesses often face unique challenges when it comes to sustainability due to limited resources. So how has your education at Presidio equipped you with the skills and knowledge to develop practical solutions tailored to the needs of these businesses?
Thank you, Callie. So I think my small business consulting pairs really well with the education I get at Presidio. I often say Presidio feels like a North Star for me that helps me have a high level view of what business and society are going to need to look like if we are going to mitigate the worst of climate change. On the other hand, not many small business owners have the education surrounding sustainable business practices, or even a lot of them are not aware of climate change and some things that for us may seem like common knowledge being at a graduate school like this. So Presidio has really helped me understand how to have a systems impact, how to write proposals, how to quantify impact, how to pitch sustainability, and how to explain the environmental side of what is going on. I would say that each course I take grows my understanding of the capitalist system that we are a part of, and that's really invaluable in my work. And lastly, I'll offer that the community itself is priceless. Just this semester, I reached out to our supply chain and operations professor regarding practical problems that I'm seeing in my local community to get their advice. Previously, I've reached out to Marcia, the systems professor, Kelly, our data professor, our economics professor, and more regarding my own personal work questions. And I think Katie was talking about this earlier. So time and time again, they've given me invaluable insight. And I'd also have to mention Shay from Career Services, who's been like a career mentor to me, and as well as an alum, James Parlay. So yeah, that's been super invaluable. And especially because the work I do is a lot of it's kind of going it alone. So PGS has been there to support me and allowed me to stay strong and strategic.
I love that. I also recently started a sustainability consulting role, and I can't tell you how many times I have used the student Slack channel to ask questions when I get, different projects assigned to me and don't know where to start. So +1 to the incredible support of the PGS community. Laura, turning over to you. As you mentioned, you have a really diverse set of roles working in the sustainable and regenerative tourism space. Can you share what draws you to this space and how your MBA program at Presidio has enhanced your ability to contribute to this work?
Sure. This is where I got to watch the clock because I'll get up on a soapbox and you really got to yank me down on this one, but I'll keep it short. For me, the intersection is interesting. I spent a few years after my undergrad traveling. It was going to be 6 months, turned into a couple of years. I lived in Australia and traveled around Vietnam, lived in Asia, did some work. And I think that time in my life, it allowed me to live on the coast and around some really fragile and beautiful ecosystems and rainforests and go scuba diving and all kinds of incredible things that I think really ignited my passion for nature and conservation and sustainability, and then also just the interconnectedness and really the systemic nature of our world, how we all work together. So that was a huge determinant in me seeking grad school. And why I'm interested in this space, it's multifaceted. I think one, it can be so much better than it is right now. We're all aware of aviation and the role it contributes in carbon emissions. From an equity standpoint, there's a lot of work to be done in ensuring that tourism models are defined by local communities. And I think that there's a lot of untapped potential in terms of using tourism as a vehicle to drive conservation and biodiversity outcomes rather than being extractive, which it currently is in most cases. So that's a little bit about why I'm interested in the way that Presidio is really helping me in this space. I know I spoke to the EL courses before, but there's a lot of ways at Presidio where you can really customize your education based around your interests. So like personally, for my EL projects, a couple of the courses that you do those in are your marketing and your operations courses. So through those, I was able to work with a Peruvian coffee co-op and then the National Park Service. And even outside of ELs, like currently I'm taking a greenhouse gas accounting elective, and my team and I are working on building a greenhouse gas inventory for United Airlines. So there's just lots of opportunities for you to be strategic and customize the work that you're doing based on your interests, even if those change over time. And my interests are quite niche and unique, and I'm still able to do that. So I think that that is a really attractive and cool and intentional part of Presidio's curriculum. And I know this has already been said, but just to really drive it home, I'm an MBA, so it's a lot of math. You're going to spend a lot of time in Excel. There's a lot of quant work to be done, but sustainability and social justice really are integrated into every course in one way or another. So I think it provides a really holistic view on the landscape, no matter what type of industry that you want to work in, and it's really inspiring. It gives a lot of ideas and insight into the levers that can kind of be pulled and twisted to take things in a different direction, no matter what you're interested in.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We have, I think, something in the chat. You are also inspiring. Thank you for sharing your stories. I feel the same way. This is why I feel like these panels are like, yes, they're for like prospective students, but also, like I said, definitely for me, so I can brag about how cool my classmates are. On that note, Katie, turning to you. Katie, you are interested in circularity and applying sustainable financial tools to support corporate action on climate goals and strategies. So how has your academic experience at Presidio allowed you to explore and deepen your knowledge in these areas?
Yeah, thanks, Callie. I think a big part of it are the courses that are offered, but a whole other layer to it is, as Laura said, the opportunity to really tailor our projects that we're doing in each of the classes towards your interests and really creating a portfolio of work that you're proud of and excited about, and dive a lot deeper into it. So I thought that I was interested in circularity coming into the program, but I didn't really know exactly like applied to what field or how to narrow that down because it's still very broad. And it was through different projects that I realized I'm really interested in circularity applied to textile systems specifically. And so I've gotten to explore that across MBA classes, MPA classes, and it's been really interesting to dive deeper into that topic area from different perspectives, which again is a big reason why I came to the program. And as for sustainable financial tools, I think that I was like never really big into finance and just thought kind of like, like it was part of the problem, right? And it was only through taking how our accounting, econ, and finance courses are all oriented and integrating social justice, systems thinking, and sustainability into each of those, as well as I'm currently in an elective that's fantastic, and it's called Capital Structures and Technology for Impactful Financial Markets. And that's very similar as well to the ethos of using finance as a tool to disrupt the system and support change. And I think that's been really interesting to have the opportunity to dive in deeper to that and see the potential in that field as opposed to just the harm that I saw when I first came into the program. So I think this program has been instrumental in both regards, helping me figure out what areas I was actually really passionate about.
I love that. Also, I am currently working with Katie in 2 different classes on projects around textile circularity, and she has such a wealth of knowledge. So if anyone else is interested, I definitely recommend connecting with her offline about that. Gabby, turning to you now. Your background includes work in both the public and private sectors. So could you share a specific accomplishment or project from your roles in these organizations that you're particularly proud of and that showcases how sustainability initiatives can make a meaningful difference in communities?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned at the beginning that I did the EDF Climate Corps Fellowship both summers that I've been at Presidio. Definitely a plus to being a graduate student is that you can be part of that program that the Environmental Defense Fund runs. And basically they set you up as a consultant over the summer at an organization working on something climate related. So in 2022, I worked with the City of Seattle's Office of Sustainability and Environment. And historically, they were reporting on their greenhouse gas emissions every 2 years in a long report that wasn't really accessible. And so I helped them develop a climate portal, which is a website that anyone in the public can access that has the greenhouse gas emissions as, I guess, they're indicators, not the emissions themselves, presented on a map by neighborhood and overlaid with race and social equity data to help people make the connection between racial inequity and emissions and tell that story together. This was designed to assist the Green New Deal action group in the city of Seattle in making the case for directing the city's climate investments to frontline communities. So that was a public sector experience. Then the next summer I did private sector through that same program and got paired with PG&E, which is notoriously not an environmental justice. They're a utility in California, and I was working with their climate resilience team, which was trying to get PG&E's strategy aligned with climate goals. And so as part of this work, they had engaged climate vulnerable communities in PG&E's service territory about what their climate priorities were. And my role was to get the results of that, so the priorities of climate vulnerable communities, into a format that would be diffused throughout the organization. But it's a very siloed organization, so it was a lot of strategic relationship building. And ultimately what I designed was 2 internal data sets to share this information across teams in a way that they would be able to use, as well as pitching the company on a company-wide policy for how to better engage with climate vulnerable communities moving forward. And both of those used similar kind of change management type skills, relationship building skills. Big takeaway that I've had at PGS is any sustainability work is really about change, which people hold a lot of feelings about, whether that's fear or necessity or whatever that is. So how to build support for change and how to develop recommendations that are truly actionable and that people want to carry forward is a great skill that I was able to use in both the private sector and the public sector environments.
Thank you all so much. I have to say, being at PGS is so incredible because you are constantly surrounded by people like the panelists in front of you today who are truly making a difference in the world, and it's just so endlessly inspiring. I know that our audience probably wants to ask a few questions, so I'm gonna go to our last question for the panel, which is, what is your favorite thing about PGS, and what advice would you give to prospective students who are interested in pursuing a degree at Presidio?
Hi, I'll jump in. So my favorite thing about PGS is definitely the bagels. Just kidding. I think my favorite thing about PGS is that it's a flexible school where you can show up as much or as little as you want to. I think all the other panelists have hinted at this or talked about this, but I'm going to double down on it. because it's been my personal experience as well. You can pile on courses or sit in your webinar with the camera and mic off if you had a really long day and just don't have much energy to bring to class. And I'd say that the teachers and other students have always been understanding and have given me space when I need it and given me support when I need it. And I would say I'm around an open-minded, intelligent, and optimistic bunch of people at PGS. In regard to advice for prospective students, I would say if you want to be a change maker, then you should come join a community of them. There are classes that you can sit in on, and you can always reach out to me or the other people, other PGSers, if you have any doubts or questions, and be honest about your doubts. Like if we're going to be genuine with us if you reach out, and if there's something that you're looking for and we genuinely don't think PGS is that, then I'll tell you that. So that's my answer.
I'm going to go next, and I'm going to take the easy one. It's the people. The people are the best. I feel like that's been said so many times, but really, especially like in MBA culture, that can be pretty competitive and cutthroat internally. And Presidio is honestly the most supportive and collaborative community I've ever been a part of. It's amazing. Like no matter what, Kelly's already mentioned this too in her work, like no matter what you need help with, you can shoot a note in Slack or, you know, any of our communal channels. And even if people don't know the answer, they'll like go out of the way to find it for you or connect you to someone who does. So it's really incredible and special. And especially when you want to enter work in a field like this one, that can be really daunting and depressing, honestly, at times. It's so important to surround yourself with people who keep you inspired and hopeful. And that's exactly what this community is for me. So advice if you're considering applying, depending on how you make your decisions. I know for me, I reached out to and spoke with probably 4 or 5 different individuals, from faculty to current students to alum, that I honestly stalked on LinkedIn and asked if they would have a conversation with me. And everyone said yes and was very kind and candid. And I think that's a great way to seek information and ask tailored questions to see if the program's a good fit for you and your lifestyle. So I'm definitely happy to connect with any of you if you have more questions, or, you know, if I can't answer them, I'm happy to find you someone who can.
I will say +1 to everything that's been said. And Laura, you took mine, so I'm going to say people, but in a different way, community. I think not just peers, but as has been mentioned throughout the panel, the faculty as well. Everyone truly goes above and beyond to help you grow to the best of your ability, and also to support you through the tough moments, because grad school is hard, life is hard, and there are going to be ups and downs, but the community is so special, and it's definitely one of my favorite things. Through the hard moments, it bolsters you and it helps to uplift you and inspire you. And I think that's been really important through this work, because some of the conversations we have in class get deep and tough and challenging, and having them with people that you really trust and have grown to care about, it makes a huge difference. So I will say that. And as for advice, I'll take a different approach. In starting out at the program, I'd say try to keep an open mind of interest areas, like try a bunch of new things and just see what's out there. And then if you feel really inspired and taken by a certain area, then try to dive deep into it. But don't discount sitting in discomfort and exploring in the beginning.
Okay, I'll be quick so we can get to the Q&A. But I think my favorite thing is that the curriculum holds space for nuance and complexity. And there's no easy answers. Most of our courses have a bottom line that's just like, if you want an easy answer, this isn't the place. This is all complex stuff. So I like that. It's real. And advice for folks who are prone to imposter syndrome, just know that PGS has a place for everyone. There's people from such a wide range of backgrounds at all stages of their careers or multiple careers. So there's not a right type of student to be here. And grad school is ultimately for you and should serve your personal journey and purpose. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you all so much for sharing. I literally got chills at one point. Also, I think I quite literally snorted at Britt's dad joke, and now that's forever recorded and immortalized. So that's great. I would love to now open up the floor to any questions that the audience may have for us. You can pop them either in the Q&A or the chat. I see a few already, so I'll just read them out. Is anyone going to share information on scholarships that are available? I will just take a stab at this. We have a number of different scholarships that are available. We have both need-based and merit-based scholarships. So I can send you the link to all of that. I can also send you the link to schedule a one-on-one financial planning session with our student financial coordinator, Stevie, who is a master at all of this and can help you create a financial plan that feels good to you for investing in this type of education. So I will definitely send you those resources via email. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I would just say the financial aid folks have been really flexible with different like types of payment plans and scholarships for me over the course of my PGS. I can only speak for myself, but there's always been somebody I can talk to, and there's been flexibility. So I found that helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think like 85% of our students are on scholarship. So that's definitely accessible. And I'll send you those resources. I see another question here. Do you have tips/pointers on how to best line up your classes to go from theory to application within the curriculum, or are all of the courses typically a mix of both?
And say that, oh, Laura, go for it. You can mute it.
I'll start and then you can take us home. I would just say there's actually quite a bit of guidance and structure there. So it's not like you're just going into it blind. There's a method to the madness, and there's instances where you can flex based on your schedule if you want to take a lighter or heavier load, but they're pretty intentional about the way they guide you through the program, no matter which one you're interested in. Gabby, what else?
There are no classes that are just theory at Presidio. They are all actionable, action-oriented classes. So I would say the one capstone that you do at the end, it's best to do towards the end so you can use everything you've learned towards that project. But otherwise, they've all got a bit of both.
Yeah, I think that kind of bleeds over into this other question. Can you talk a little bit more about the experiential learning format of the courses? How has it helped your education at PGS? Is it all courses or only specific ones?
Yeah, so experiential learning is technically only experiential learning means that you work with a group of classmates and you are paired with an actual client company, and you work with that company over the course of the semester to create a deliverable. And so there are 3 main courses in the MBA curriculum that have ELs. It's marketing, which you generally take first, and then operations and supply chain and strategy. So those are the 3 ones. I will say in the dual degree, there's the course Planning, Policy, and Sustainable Economic Development. And in that class, it's not technically an EL, but going through it, we had the opportunity to identify a company that we were interested in and do outreach and work with them on a semester-long project. So it essentially was an EL. And I think, to Gabby's point, every class grounds theory and practice, but these are really cool because you actually get hands-on consulting experience with a group of peers to create a deliverable, deliver to the presentation to people at the company. I've presented before to the board of a company, which was like kind of nerve-wracking, but also super exciting and cool. And just, it felt really impactful to see the work that you spent the semester on actually have an impact in the world. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that was a great answer, Katie. Yeah, just to second that, there are those 3 dedicated experiential learning classes in the MBA program, but the MPA program kind of has its own unofficial version of that. So right now, I'm in civic leadership, and one of the things that we're doing is a civic engagement portfolio, where we're actually going out and like engaging with our community and doing real world civic engagement. So kind of, just to echo Gabby's point, every class is really actionable. Another question, how do you think a hard science background translates to Presidio?
I
Yeah.
can jump in.
Oh, Britt.
Yeah, he wasn't frozen. So I've seen in my experience so far, like I mentioned, I have a business background. I've seen a really wide variety of backgrounds. One of the people in my cohort, who's a good friend of mine, has I would say a hard science background where they were like literally an environmental scientist and studied birds for years and was like out in the field doing science work. And I think it translates well into Presidio, because taking a systems thinking lens and looking broadly at kind of the problems that we're trying to solve. I think having a business background, like makes some of the courses easier, but having the science, like a hard science background, I think can help you, one, when it comes to writing papers, one, and understanding like scientific journals. And you just have a different set of strengths. So I don't think that there's a right background or a wrong background to have. That's my gut response.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll just add, I think to your point, Britt, like quantitatively, as Laura mentioned, they're like some of the classes are very quant heavy. And having a background in hard science, there were certain concepts where I definitely, like, it took a little bit for them to sink in, but it felt a little bit more natural and in my wheelhouse. But I also think, to your point, Britt, like, it's been great to have the different perspectives of people with a variety of backgrounds to really push the more qualitative components and ground things in humanity. Yeah, I think, Callie, I know you also have a hard science background. Thoughts?
Yeah, I will say that was something I was worried about because my background is in neuroscience, and I was like, I don't know how this applies at all. As Laura mentioned, you will be spending a lot of time in Excel. So it's awesome to have kind of a leg up on those quantitative courses. Like the data analysis piece is a really important part of sustainability. So there's definitely transferable skills there. And for someone like Katie, for example, who's interested in textile circularity, it's really beneficial for her to have a background in biochem because she's able to better understand the science behind, like the material science behind textile circularity. So I think that there's always going to be things that are transferable and applicable, simply because of the fact that sustainability permeates every single aspect of society. So yeah, also happy to talk more about that offline. Another great question here is, what are some software or skills that we should be learning on the side that would prove helpful while navigating through the MBA program?
I'll say Excel for the 90th time tonight, but I will also say you don't need to be doing anything on the side. The instructors they want to work with you and they want to meet you where you're at, no matter what skill level that is. So a lot of our professors will even issue a survey before the course starts to gauge as a class where folks are at and their comfortability with different types of quantitative skills in some of the different models that we use. But in addition to that, just general awareness of where people are at. Our professors have office hours, and maybe all of the quant heavy classes have a TA assigned as well. So there's always opportunities if something's not quite clicking for you to set up some time for a one-on-one if that works better for you. And there's plenty of supportive resources. So I don't think it's necessary to be prepping yourself in any way, but yeah, we use a lot of Excel.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't let any technical skill thing prevent you from just starting, because especially in the first couple semesters, the professors will often show you how to use the tool that you need to use for the class. And by the end, you feel really great in all of them.
Yeah. And we also we learned some really cool software as part of the program. Like you'll learn Tableau, for example, and data analytics, which is a really cool data visualization software. Office hours are great. And professors take recordings of them as well. So you can also learn from the questions that your classmates are asking, because if you're confused, you're probably not the only one. So lots of support. Got another question here. Have you explored other institutions offering programs in sustainability before choosing Presidio?
I did a lot of research, which is just how I do everything. But I think I noodled on whether I wanted to come here for 5 years. So I did a lot of exploring of other schools. I ended up applying to just 2, which were Presidio and BARD, which is a very similar program in New York City. I ended up picking, both of them I liked. They have similar philosophies, similar hybrid formats. Neither of them require you to take standardized tests. So those are all pluses. I wanted to be in California, which was a big motivator to choose Presidio. And while the BARD program also has a dual degree option, you have to be in person for all of their, it's an MPP, I think, so public policy, and that part of it is all in person in, not in New York City, but a different part of New York. So that convenience factor, being able to do a dual that was entirely hybrid and in California, was what brought me to Presidio as my final choice.
I also looked at a couple other programs, and the deciding factor was I looked at Oregon and University of Colorado Boulder, and both of them had MBAs in sustainability, but it was you got to take, I think, 2 or 3 elective classes that were sustainability focused, and it was pretty restrictive of, I think it was real estate or something else. So Presidio just seemed like a better fit to get that integrated into every single class, and also have some really fancy, cool electives that also were related to that, like capital structures, among many others.
Fantastic. Yeah, I will echo that. I had a similar experience of looking at different MBA programs when I knew that was the path I wanted to choose, and just realizing that most of them only had a few courses that had a sustainability focus, and it felt weird for that to be on the side rather than really the core focus of the program. And so I think that that's a big, problem in our society, that sustainability is viewed as an add-on instead of integral to the practice of business. We have a few more questions. I also know that some panelists do have class, so feel free to hop off if you need to. I'm happy to stay on and continue to answer questions. If there are specific topics or fields within sustainability that are of real interest to me, then would it be possible to research related / similar past and current student work or project applications within the PGS database?
I actually don't know if there is a way, if we have a way for prospective students to view PGS projects, but I do know that most PGS students are psyched to share our projects with anyone who asks. So if you find a person on LinkedIn or through reaching out to one of us or to Callie, and they can get you connected, then as a current student in the program. Okay, cool. I also don't know if we have that. It's mainly we all know what each other are working on from talking to each other, and sometimes we'll just send you, I don't know, you kind of get to know the people with similar interests to you and share projects, unless there is something I'm not aware of. So I'm going to mute myself.
I'll throw Slack into it. As a current student, you have access to Slack. So if there's anything like this happens all the time. Like there's someone who's interested in regenerative agriculture or like the tourism industry, and they'll put something in, hey, has anyone worked on this? I would love to hear like about the work you've done. And there's current students, there's like channels for current students, and then there's also channels for like all the alumni. So you can reach, you can always reach people that way. And I'm sure there's someone who's interested in the same thing that you're interested in.
I just want to say I think that's an amazing idea and something we should look into, building like a student portfolio on our site. I think would be brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I will also say that even though there's not like an official database, if you just utilize the network, someone is always going to show up and give you any type of like project that they worked on that could be helpful. So for example, I did a case competition last semester that a team of PGS people did the previous semester, and they were able to share all of their documents with me that I actually accessed through our career resources. Shay, who Britt alluded to earlier. Also, all of our panelists have to hop for class. This is the reality of being a student with classes after traditional working hours. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And I really appreciate you all and hope you have a wonderful class. For any prospective students out there, I'm happy to stay on for a little bit and answer any other questions you may have.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.